Libra, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these videos, every single week, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact your natal sun and what that means for your bottom line. To enjoy these videos, to understand them, all you need to know is your birth date. I will translate everything else for you. We're going to start with the big things, the stuff that's impacting everybody, and then I will focus that down into Libra specific information, and then we'll break things down into the 3 decans of Libra so I know how other planets are forming aspects, angles that create relationships to your sun, and what angles are actually forming so that we'll know how you're going to be impacted. So let's start out with the big stuff. This is actually not the biggest week. This is a week where things, in some ways, maybe the energy starts to play out, but definitely the intense energy from the last 2 weeks kind of gets to maybe dissipate a little bit. There is an easement in the air, and that's sort of when things can actually settle and take place. So it could be very interesting, but there's still a feeling of release that's happening, but also when is the other shoe going to drop? So the big stuff happening this week. This is the week of July 25th through the 31st. It's all written down here. Keep notes for you guys. Well, for me, so I understand everything. Mercury is going to be transiting into Virgo, and that happens on the 29th of July. There's also 2 major things that are ending this week, and I think that those are the most important. Number one, it's all around the 29th, 30th. The Mars opposition to Saturn will end. And then also the Sun's opposition to Pluto will end. And that's why the intensity is now starting to dissipate. This sense of constant friction with those 2 major oppositions is starting to dissipate. But right after the Sun leaves opposition to Pluto, Mercury comes in. And so Pluto now is opposite Mercury. This will be the last of the inner planets that Pluto is in opposition from this year. So that's a real easement. But then the planets will start to conjunct Pluto, which is a different kind of energy. We'll get to that when we do. We'll get to that when we get to that. But this week, the sun opposite Pluto ends. Mercury opposite Pluto will begin. No, I'm sorry. Mercury opposite, not opposite Pluto. Mercury opposite Saturn will begin on the 29th. So almost as soon as Mars ends its opposition to Saturn, Mercury begins its opposition to Saturn. So Mercury is not opposite Pluto. So Pluto's actually kind of freed up right now. It's still squared to the nodes, and that's where it will stay for a while, but ultimately, or that's an aspect that will remain for a while. But ultimately, Pluto is kind of, there's no opposition to Pluto right now, and that's a really good thing, because an opposition to Pluto creates a lot of tension, especially when it's in a grand square with those nodes. It just feels like you're being compacted and compressed with so much energy, and now there's an easement there. So we can feel a little bit of relief right now, even if things seem like they're going screwy or haywire. It doesn't feel as heavy. But with Mercury opposing Saturn by the 29th, there is this tension in thoughts, ideas, and words, this sense of how can I get things done, or why can't I get things done? And what I like about this energy, as opposed to Mars opposing Saturn, Mercury opposing Saturn is more intellectual and pragmatic. It doesn't react the way Mars does when it gets frustrated, when it feels restricted and denied. It gets angry and impulsive, but Mercury could really dig down and start to think through, what are all these restrictions from? Like, what is all this containment from? Is this actually working out? There is a sense of common sense opposing the status quo, this sense of, well, let's figure out how to make things actually functional, and are they? So that could actually lead to what we need, right, with that tension. We also have Mars trine Jupiter all week long. This is a great energy for productivity moving forward, or just being so done with restriction that we take leaps of faith forward, which can be very good for us right now as well. We also have Mercury conjunct Venus in retrograde. Both will be square to Uranus. Venus is square to Uranus all week long. What does this mean? We want things that are different. We're attracted to things that are different, and we're opposing things that are common or the same. We're starting to find different proclivities that could basically initiate a lot of mischief this week. For better or worse, not sure what side of it you're on, but ultimately, we'll become sure of what side of it you're on, Libra, but ultimately still just this mischief, this energy, because of those squares to Uranus between Mercury and between Venus, and Venus conjunct Mercury is beautiful energy, actually. This sort of attractive, beautifully graceful, eloquent way of speaking and presenting information that is square to Uranus, which means it could defy the norm or make people attracted to something that they are not normally attracted to because it is put into easy to understand or pretty speech. So also, I think in some ways, watch out for a little bit of deception this week as well. Let's go into Libra specific information. How do I get there? Well, I look at what's going on inside of Libra, the zodiac sign, number one. And then number two, I look at what's going on with your ruling dignitary, Venus. So what's going on in Libra, the zodiac sign of Libra? There's the south node that's going to move between 29 degrees and 28 degrees Libra. So if you are a Libra 3, you are conjunct the south node in opposition to the north node. There's going to be a lot of imminent changes that are happening in your life based on have you gotten too settled and too comfortable in your comfort zone, and what's going to agitate you or challenge you to get out of it. So this doesn't mean that there's going to be this, it could also be more of a temptation to hide into your comfort zone because you don't want the challenges outside of you. But ultimately, ultimately development and personal development is necessary while the south node is conjunct your sun. We'll get a little bit deeper into that in a second. And then we have the moon on the 25th only. On the 25th only, the moon is conjunct the south node, which means it's at its last degrees of Libra and it's on its way out, and it'll only be in Libra for the day. But it will also be Libra 3s that get that moon conjunct the south node, conjunct your natal suns. So this can be a very personal, very illuminating day, emotionally illuminating day, and emotionally sort of almost like an emotion, like feeling whole and complete, and like you're ready to let something go, release something go, that you're finally comfortable with letting energy out or letting energy be released. Okay, so we'll get into that in a second. Let's talk about Venus. So Venus is still in Leo, and it's hanging out in Leo in retrograde. It's going to retrograde between 28 and 27 degrees Leo. It's going to conjunct Mercury from basically the 26th all the way through the end of the week. It is sextile to the south node and trine to the north node. So something very beautiful is coming from Venus with this south node, this energy of almost, I was going to say, the changing of your value systems, or feeling valuable, or valuing those things that you're good at a lot more than you used to, or valuing certain aspects of what you took for granted a lot more than you used to. Trine the north node is an acceptance and a harmony that comes with knowing you got to move forward, or like your discomfort zone, this sense of finding peace or healing with anything that has made you uncomfortable. Not anything, but hold on. We have a quincunx to Neptune, which is long term. Quincunx to Neptune is basically agitation or frustration or dreaming too much, imploding with your own sort of delusions or distractions, being more easily distracted, or needing to being more easily, I would say more easily distracted and losing yourself in sort of la la land is kind of the outcome of this energy. And that square to Uranus just says, I'm tired of the same old things. I don't desire what I once desired. What once turned me on isn't turning me on anymore. So there is a lot of rebellion here, especially with sexual attraction or finances and how you spend your money. You could find yourself doing things that really surprise you or putting value where you never had before. This could be good or bad. Either way, it is going to challenge you to face how you have valued things and where you have placed your value, and maybe even if you valued things enough. So let's get into the decans, shall we? If you know your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Libra, it is in the first decan of Libra, and you are a Libra 1. This translates to Libra birthdays basically at the end of September. So September 22nd through the 30th, maybe through October 1st. That would be Libra 1s. Your natal sun is sextile to the current sun. And that's really good for courage and confidence and really being able to shine and have a lot of self-esteem and be seen and validated and get attention. So use that to your advantage this week. Long-term quincunx to Saturn, which means frustrations or maybe feeling a little bit restricted or that you're not given enough opportunities, but that's long-term. Saturn is in retrograde. So with this sextile to the sun this week, I still think there's a lot of beautiful opportunities for you to really shine this week and be seen. Only if you're born at the cusp. So this would be September 21st, 22nd, maybe 23rd. Your natal suns are in opposition to Neptune. Only cuspers will really feel this. This could be just being easily distracted. But that's for the next couple of years. And there's nothing really tremendously exacerbating this right now. So I don't think this is going to affect you. You might feel it come up. No, I don't think this is going to affect you that much this week, and nor will you really feel the impact of the trine to Pluto. This would be only cusps too. There is that sense of welcoming change, feeling at harmony with who you're becoming and where your life is headed. But ultimately what you're going to feel this week, Libra 1s, is that sextile to the sun. So definitely use that to your advantage. Allow yourself to shine. Wherever you have the opportunity, allow yourself to be seen. People will take notice of you, and you will have an extra charm and appeal and sort of charisma to your character. So that could help out a lot. Let's go on to Libra 2s. So if you know your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Libra, then you are Libra 2s. This correlates to, say, October 2nd through the 10th or 11th. This would be, So I wrote down here frustrating energy, because there is a lot of frustrating energy, Libra 2s. Maybe financial frustration specifically, or just feeling frustrated, like you're not loving or liking what you have in front of you or what you currently have going on. A sort of internal restlessness, if you will. This is caused by the longer term aspect of your natal suns being quincunx to Jupiter, feeling like you can't get things done quick enough, or you're growing too fast for yourself, or there's expectations that are beyond where realistically you're at right now. An opposition to Chiron, so being compromised somehow, feeling like you're never good enough, or your self-esteem is compromised because there always feels like something is just too difficult, too challenging, one challenge after another, not feeling like you ever live up to the challenges. Not to say that you don't, but this is a sense of how you're perceiving yourself, a compromised sense of self with an opposition to Chiron. That's long-term. So that makes this week, and what you're facing in particular this week, which is the semi-square to Mercury and the semi-square to Venus, and the two of them being conjunct and square to Uranus. This is just this sense of feeling like a stubbornness, a sense of like lockjaw in some way when it comes to not being able to express yourself, or not being able to, or feel like you're just not liking what you see, liking what you're being offered, or feeling like you're being valued at all. Maybe this sense of almost like an angry frustration and an angry stubbornness. So there's a lot of frustration going on here this week for you. This could be because of contact or communications with I was saying an ex, but it could even be in your current relationships, just not hearing what you need to hear, or feeling your feelings and words are not like kind of lining up. What I would do in this kind of frustrating energy to try to slow yourself down and not get ahead of yourself is to ground yourself. And the best way for an air sign to ground themselves is meditation. You ground yourself through your breath, by syncing your breath with your mind. And you don't have to clear your mind. You just have to allow your thoughts to be a little bit more peaceful by linking them to the breath. This is going to help you a lot, even if you could meditate just for a minute every morning, or take a little bit of a lunch break and go meditate for maybe 5 minutes. Find a place of calm where you can focus on your breath. I think this will help you in ways that maybe you won't be able to see right away, but it'll help you not feel so frustrated or overreact and do something that may come back to bite you in the butt. Just an FYI. And then we have Libra 3s. So if you know your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Libra, you are Libra 3s. This correlates to birthdays between the 12th and say the 21st or 22nd of October, right up to that Scorpio cusp, Libra. It's your natal suns that are conjunct the south node and opposite the north node, which we talked about earlier, which for the next 6 months, because the south node, the nodes will eventually move on. But for the next 6 months, the south node will conjunct your sun. And this, from the external world, leaves you at a very good place, because people are super comfortable with you, what you represent, what you feel comfortable with. But simultaneously, there is a slacking off that can happen, especially when there's friction with the north node of wanting to get you outside of that comfort zone, or challenging everything that you feel comfortable with. And so ultimately, once that south node leaves you, there can be kind of a thud, as in, okay, well, where do I go from here? And where do you go from here is always facing that north node and moving forward, or trying to motivate yourself to move forward with the things that were most difficult with you, for you. You also have the moon conjunct your natal suns on the 25th. And this can be a very, not necessarily emotional day. It's almost like your own mini new moon, your own mini restart of sorts, a sense of a time for clearing space emotionally to think, what new possibilities are there for me? Feeling like your sun and your moon are connected gives a sense of wholeness and self-certainty that will help you in a lot of ways. So that's a really nice energy to have. That's on the 25th. Through the 28th of this week, your natal suns are square to the sun, so that can create arrogance due to low self-esteem. Could also mean that your ego doesn't feel as supported, and so there's more conflicts with other people's egos, or just a compromised sense of value that requires attention. So that could make for a little bit of a frustrated energy this week. You have a long-term quincunx to Neptune and a quincunx to Uranus. There is frustrating energy around the odd, the unusual, or the mysterious. So a lot of frustrating surprises coming out of the blue, feeling like why didn't you know about this, or feeling like you've been blindsided a lot. that will actually continue to happen over the next couple of years. So I don't think this is really being extraordinarily exacerbated, though Uranus is square to Venus, so there could be some curveballs that come up when it comes to finances or your love life. It doesn't have to be bad stuff. It's just stuff that kind of comes out of the blue and sort of strikes you from behind, the unexpected. We also have, but this week, what we have is a sextile to Venus and a sextile to Mercury, a square to the Sun and a semi-square to Mars. So where your energy might be compromised and you might feel more pop-off-ish, there's a sextile to Venus and a sextile to Mercury that says you are naturally attractive, and your natural attractiveness or your appeal or the way that you talk and can put things in a graceful way, whatever that is, could open up a lot of doors for you, even just because there's magnetism there about you that really you can't necessarily place. So overall, there is a fair share of, or fair opportunities that can come to you, especially financial opportunities or ideas, communication, like things finally getting done and working their way forward with these very helpful energies this week. The semi-square to Mars is sort of a vitality and energy thing, so don't push yourself too hard this week. Also you could get quick to anger, but for reasons that you don't have to be angry. So it's a sense of count to 10 before you overreact, because things actually could easily come to you this week without much frustration. And that's just sort of what you're going to have to open yourself up to faith for. You let me know in the comments below, Libras, any Libra, all Libras, how this energy or how you're experiencing it impact you. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell and give this video a thumbs up. Then come on along to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.